So I was watching a team gather with their end of iteration celebration. They had worked late most nights, and they were really, really happy because they hit 100% of their stories, and their burn down boards looked amazingly clean and wonderful. It was a military precision. They were exhausted, sure, and they were proud. And their manager walks in and is also very happy, smiling, clapping, saying, "This is so impressive. So when can the customer start using this?" Awkward silence. None of it was deployable. Not a single thing had made it to production, and nor could they get it there because the isolated pieces weren't ready to integrate with each other. They had been focusing on producing a whole bunch of outputs, and they had missed the point about keeping track of what outcomes they were actually delivering. That moment exposed them to the trap that most teams don't even realize that they're in, measuring outputs instead of outcomes. And in a world where AI can crank out outputs faster than ever, that trap just keeps getting deeper and deeper. Here's the thing, this isn't just a team problem, it's a cultural one. The obsession with output traces back to the industrial era. Management practices in factories where more widgets meant more profit led to paying attention to the amount of time that we were spending doing things because that equaled created a value. The amount of time, more time that you put into something, the more value that you're actually delivering. Those things went hand in hand. So we built systems to track hours, count deliverables, and reward activity. This is why there's this management trend to make sure that everybody is busy. RTO, have to watch it, make sure, because that is associated with value, and that comes from the industrial era. Problem is that most modern work doesn't work that way, especially when you're delivering products or services. That is even more incompatible with that way of thinking. And to throw AI into the mix, we're talking about a completely different league. All of these products, services, AI-based products and services, they're fluid, they're emergent, they're not static, they're not hard to widgets that you watch coming out of the production belts. They demand feedback, experimentation, and constant adaptation. In that kind of environment, focusing on how much we do instead of what we achieve, it just wastes time, misdirects energy, and leads us to building the wrong things. Let's bring this down to the ground level. Let's take a closer look. I once worked with a team that realized they could solve their customer's problem using just a third of the features they'd originally planned. The initial scope was 12 user stories. The actual solution, only four. They were thrilled until the question started popping. What will stakeholders think? Won't they look at this and see that we're actually behind because there was all of these others that needed to be done and we're not doing them, we're not working on them? Should we build the rest anyway, just in case, or and to keep us busy? What's the output trap in action? In cultures where effort equals value, removing work, even unnecessary or even harmful work, feels like failure to stick to the plan. Or worse, you end up painting a bullseye on your team for making them bright for downsizing just because you've removed the things that you shouldn't be doing. Ingenuity isn't just discouraged in that kind of environment, it's actually punished. Now, imagine the same situation in an outcome focused culture. That solution would be celebrated. Value delivered faster with fewer moving parts. That's amazing. That's responsiveness. That's efficiency. And because there's more breathing room, quality improves because the team has now more space, more mental and clock space to pay attention to the fine level details that otherwise, when you're just tracking outputs, you don't have time for that. That's the real goal. In an output culture, you're rewarded for finishing everything you planned, even if it solves nothing. In an outcome culture, you're rewarded for solving the right problem, even if it means changing course. Sorry, not sorry, project managers. This is exactly why project based thinking isn't compatible with this kind of work. It's a misalignment. It's not that it's wrong, it's just misaligned. And this isn't just a mindset shift, it's a rewiring of what your organization praises questions, and it tracks. Let me walk you through a cultural shift and how we define this transition. How do we navigate and get this transition going? Staying active, constantly active doesn't earn gold stars anymore. Teams are measured by their impact, not by how full their calendars are. What we pay attention to is what's changing for the customer. I love this one. Plan is the plan until we change the plan. People confuse that and think that in agile environments you don't plan. That's completely wrong. You're planning all the time. Outcome focused cultures empower teams to pivot based on what they learn, not because the plan is bad, but because they're adapting the plan as conditions evolve. In output cultures, mistakes are disruptions. In outcome cultures, they're data. When something doesn't work, the question is, what did we learn? And how fast can we use it? Because we see the benefit. We want to leverage that benefit as quickly as possible. Output cultures reward solo achievement. Outcome cultures reward team-based problem solving. Who did what matters less than whether the team moves the needle for the customer? And here's the big one. Great teams don't just execute to specifications, they challenge assumptions, investigate the real need, and deliver useful solutions, even when those solutions look nothing like the original ask. This is not the domain of rigid statements of work. When we get this right, we stop making better horses and we start inventing the automobile. Here's a real world example. Let's say a financial firm requests a reporting dashboard with 27 data views. The spec is clear. The output-focused approach, build all 27 exactly as ordered. The outcome-focused approach, well, let's start by talking to the users. Discovered in the process what is actually important, what's the highest value. And in the process, you may discover that only 3 views answer 95% of the questions. Well, build those first. Validate the impact and the rest of it. Review it as they come. If there truly is a need, people will voice it, and then you can implement them. You get higher customer satisfaction, faster delivery, lower cost in your implementation, and a product that people actually use and like. As AI capabilities grows, this distinction becomes even more critical. AI can churn out outputs endlessly. Code, copy, charts, dashboards. If we keep measuring progress by how much gets produced, we risk drowning in the delusion that volume equals value. Doesn't. In the age of AI, the question must evolve from how much did we build to what changed for the customer? And did it change for the better? And here's the key. This kind of shift doesn't start with just a few new metrics. It starts with culture, what you reward, what you question, what you celebrate. That reinforces the behaviors and the perspectives and the attitudes that you want to see. To start by asking different questions, not are we on track to finish the planned features? Instead, ask, are we solving the right problem? Don't ask, did everybody start busy this iteration? Forget about that. Instead, ask questions like, did we create something valuable together? Are we working collaboratively well enough that the end result of that effort is producing something of value that our customers want? That's what we want to know. And when someone removes unnecessary work from the plan, celebrate. It's not loss, it's clarity. That's progress. That's headroom for bigger and more meaningful challenges. That's the whole point. And their AI can make a huge difference, create massive headroom for teams to really dig in and use their expertise and their abilities to look at bigger, better, greater solutions. When we move from outputs to outcomes, something powerful, really powerful happens. Work stops being about checking off the boxes. It becomes about real impact. Teams rediscover purpose. Value starts flowing, not just to the customer, back to the team themselves in the form of pride, trust, ownership, accountability, and motivation. So, what output metrics are still driving your team's behavior today? And what would change if you swap them for outcome focused questions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Love to hear what your teams are learning. And if you'd like to learn more about why AI projects fail and how product thinking prevents derailments, click one of these. I'll be happy to tell you all about it.